Hello fellow tutors, and in this video I'm going to tell you about the one thing that will make your teaching way more interesting, engaging, entertaining. Students will pay attention, they will remember what you teach, and it actually also makes it easier for them to understand. So many benefits in this one skill, and once you master it, your lessons just go to a whole new level. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Keith. I'm the founder and CEO of That Bio Tutor. And in the past 6 months, we've gained from 0 to 55 students. And I have tracked my trial conversion rate. That means a trial student comes in, what is the percentage of trial students who will sign up and become a student? And that number has been consistently over 50% for the past few months. So that means that more than 1 in every 2 people will choose to sign up. That means the lessons are good, right? They like the lessons. So I believe that one of the components that allows this is because I simply use this one hack. And the answer is teaching in analogies. So, I mean, I'm just going to use biology examples, but I'm sure it works in other subjects as well. Just now in my lesson, I thought about this question. And the question was, explain why it's important for blood to move slowly in the capillaries. So, now here's what a normal teacher would do in the school. They would just say that, oh, it's because, here's the answer key, that it results in a more time for nutrients like nutrients and oxygen to diffuse out of the blood into the cells, and for more time for the more waste products to diffuse from the cells back into the bloodstream. Okay, now you listen to that for the past 20 seconds, right? Did you start getting bored? I think the answer is yes. Especially for those of us who are not so inclined into biology, you probably started zoning out. And here's the thing about students, right? Even though they're studying the subject, but they do not have as much knowledge or expertise as we teachers have. And so therefore, for them, they feel how you just felt, especially if you are not that bio inclined. That's how they felt. And now for your subject, let's say you're a math tutor, right? And then your students are learning math. That's how they feel, even though they are supposed to learn that. Because we always have this bias, right, as teachers, that we expect everyone to know what we know. But teaching is about connecting knowns to unknowns, right? So write that down. Teaching is about connecting knowns to unknowns. So how do we do that? We have to link something that the student already knows about in their mind to something that we know as a teacher. So as a teacher, we know more, right? And we're trying to impart that more into their brain. But the only way to do that effectively is actually to link what they currently know to something they currently don't know. And now in school systems, they almost never use this method. They always just tell you, here's the unknown, learn it. And then the student by themselves has to figure out how to link the known to the unknown. And here's the thing, 50% of people might not have that skill by themselves. They rely on a good teacher to explain it to them, to link the known to the unknown. If not, they won't get it. So going back to that example, let's use an analogy, which is what I did in class just now. So you know the MRT system, the train? Imagine when it's your stop, the doors open for 5 seconds, then ding dong, it closes, and then you're like, I barely even got up from my seat and then the door closed. So no one can go in, and barely anyone can go in, and barely anyone can go out of the MRT. So that's what happens if the speed of blood is too high in the capillaries. See, the point of the capillaries and the blood system is kind of like the MRT system. It's to deliver things from one place to another. So when the speed of blood is too fast, it's kind of like the MRT doors closing too fast. No one can go in, barely anyone can go in and out. So that's why we need it to be slow, so that it's like doors opening for 30 seconds. So there's time for people to go in, which is the waste products, they come into the blood. And there's time for people to go out, which is the nutrients going out from the blood. So you see, when I explain it that way now, it's way more interesting. You actually understand it, and you probably can explain it to someone else, because now you truly understand it. Because I've linked a known, which is the MRT or train system, to an unknown, right? Which is about why the blood must flow slowly. So that's how you use an analogy. That's how you make things interesting. That's how you make them truly understand. That's how you catch their attention, because you're telling a story in effect, right? And We are wired to be storytellers. That's why we love movies. That's why we binge Netflix so much, because we love stories. We are wired to remember in stories also. So you catch their attention, you make them think that you're amazing at teaching because of how easy they get it. But actually, this is just basic teaching 101. It's linking knowns to unknowns. Okay, they actually will remember it better. So many benefits, right, on just this one skill of using analogies. And analogies are just linking knowns to unknowns. And credit goes to Tony Robbins. I got this from him because I was listening to like one of the seminar recordings, and he gave this like analogy about he said, you know how resistors work in electronic circuits, and he said some like bunch of jargon, like technical jargon, and then he actually said to everyone, oh, actually that was just BS, I just made that up. Like, yeah, so everyone nodded their heads along, okay, yeah, sounds legit, but actually it was just BS. So when it's technical jargon, people nod their heads along because they don't want to feel dumb. And so that's what the students are doing in your class. You're just saying all this bunch of jargon, you know it makes sense to you, but it doesn't make sense to them. And so they just nod along in the class. And that's why they don't actually learn as much as we want them to learn. And that's what happens a lot in the school system. But then he explained it this way, right? He drew like on this paper a water pipe, and in the middle of the water pipe there was this flap, okay? And the flap like blocked the water, so it was harder for the water to flow through. And he said, this flap is like a resistor. Do you get what a resistor does to electric current now? And then everyone's like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. So then he said, you know, teaching is about linking knowns to unknowns. And I was like, dang. See, we tutors, we think that teaching is about, oh, I must know all the content, I must know how to answer the questions, the keywords and all that. And that's all good and correct. But we forget the most fundamental basic thing about teaching. Linking the knowns to the unknowns. So we link a known in our mind to the unknown in the student's mind. And so if you felt this video was helpful, then yeah, subscribe, and you can watch more of my crappy driving home or driving to work videos with extremely low video production quality. So this skill is worth mastering, and in fact it's the skill that I'm going to teach to all my tutors when I coach them and train them. It's the skill that allows me, as a 22-year-old with very little teaching experience, no degree, to steal students, customers from other tutors, other tuition centers who have very qualified tutors, more than 10 years of experience, ex-MOE teacher. You know, they publish books even in Popular, and somehow their students want to come to me. Why? Because their teaching is just not as good. That's just the objective truth. And why is that? I think one of the main reasons is they don't teach in analogies. So I realized that today in my lesson before I filmed this video, that I just came up with analogies on the spot, because I realized subconsciously that, oh, I'm talking about something that sounds very technical, and they probably would do better if they understood it with an easy, relatable analogy. And so I just came up with it on the spot. And I realized, wow, this is really nice, because like a year ago, or even longer than that, maybe more than a year, I learned about this, right? Linking knowns to unknowns using analogies is the answer, is the secret. So I then was like, okay, I want to develop this skill. So I was more intentional about it. So that means when I heard about it, I was at the first stage of growth, right? Unconscious incompetence. Then when I heard about it, then I became consciously incompetent. Because when I taught, then I was like, oh, I realized I could use an analogy here, but I don't have one on my head right now. I need to think about it. And then I became consciously competent, right? Before the lessons, I always plan my lesson, and then I would plan that like, oh, okay, I'm going to say this analogy at this point to explain this concept. And I even go to ChatGPT to ask like, help me come up with an analogy. And you'll be amazed how easy it is. So it was, let me see, when was this? Yes, and then last night, sorry, not last night, just now during the lesson, right, is proof to my brain that I've become unconsciously competent at coming up with analogies, and I have more to improve, I could be faster at coming at that. You know, I could come out with them more frequently. In fact, if your whole lesson is just sprinkled with stories and analogies, that would be an incredibly amazing and interesting lesson. So if you go online and you watch those speeches or TED Talks which really keep your attention, it's always because those speeches or TED Talks or even sermons, because I'm a Christian and I listen to sermons, and I notice those good sermons, those good talks and speeches are always the ones where they are just filled with this format: story, point, story, point, story, point. It's just like that. So story, moral of the story, right? Story, moral of the story. And that way, you will keep people's attention forever. So if your lessons are basically like that, and I'm actually telling this to myself now, so that in the future when I watch this video, I'll remind myself of do this format: story, point, story, point. Never go too long without having a story or analogy in your lesson. And if you just do that, they will call you the most engaging teacher ever. And what they mean by engaging is not boring. And how to be not boring? Tell stories. So I hope this video was valuable, and I'm guessing there are probably like really few people watching this, but I'm betting that those few tutors watching this will find this kind of video very valuable. So if that is you, please give a like, please give a comment below if you came to this point of the video, so that I know that you guys want more of this stuff. Thank you very much.